Hello, Classic Crew, and welcome to today's episode of The Scoop. If you are new to my channel, The Scoop is our opportunity to chat, act as if we're grabbing a cup of coffee together, and go over the events of the week. I really enjoy making The Scoop videos every week because it's our opportunity to really have a conversation, and I love reading your guys' comments. So don't forget to leave a comment down below, grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I've got my tea right here, and let's get started. So I want to start off today by talking about something really serious that happened this past week and has been on all of our minds. The biggest piece of news from last week is about MAGA extremists storming the Capitol as the Electoral College was about to elect Joe Biden president. Losing in Georgia was theoretically the big news that happened last week because that meant that the House, the Senate, and the presidency were in Democrat hands. But instead, we are talking about this terrible thing that happened last Wednesday. 5 people died, one of whom was a police officer. This was a terrible day for our country. This was a terrible day for our country because the seat of our democracy and everything this country stands for was trespassed upon in an illegal and riotous act. Let's be clear, riots are never okay. Conservatives are different from the extremists who stormed the Capitol because we will call out rioting whenever it happens. It doesn't matter on what side because riots themselves are wrong. We called it out last year and we call it out now. It doesn't matter who's doing it. It's wrong. All Americans have the right to law and order and freedom from mobs. Riots are like arson. Once the fire is started, it spreads and burns everything around it, regardless of how innocent or guilty the things are that burn in the eyes of the person who lit the match. And that's why they are an unacceptable evil, regardless of who starts them. Once you excuse rioting for one group, another group will try it themselves. Any self-respecting conservative has condemned the acts that happened last week. We recognize what happened and we condemn it. What we won't allow to happen is for the media to paint all conservatives as responsible for what happened, or to say that we are all like the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol. How often on my channel have I taken the time to differentiate between leftists and wokeists and liberals so that we do not lump everyone who leans left together? If I can do that, then liberals must give conservatives the same courtesy, even though the hard left will not, because it's useful to them to use this lie as a tool. Conservatives do not condone what happened. I wanted to talk about what happened this past week because it is so important, and it was something that was on our entire nation's mind, but the rest of this video will be a little bit more lighthearted just because we all sometimes need a mental break from everything that's going on in the world. I recently watched the show Bridgerton. Now, I'm sure many of you guys have watched it. It's on Netflix. It's a kind of Regency era show, although it's more of a historical fantasy, and it kind of blew up. Everyone was watching it. I figured I would watch it so that I could kind of discuss it with you guys if you too did watch it. I will say that the show is not family friendly. There are quite a few inappropriate scenes that don't necessarily need to be in the show, but they are. So if you are planning on watching it, I just want you to know that in advance. But besides that, I thought that the show was very enjoyable to watch. I mean, I love anything that has to do with period dramas. I love period dramas. The costumes in the show, super interesting. I am very interested in historical accuracy when it comes to costumes. There's this whole other side of YouTube that talks about costuming and historical accuracy, and this show did not have that. There were a few things, a few stylistic choices that are historically accurate, but fabric choices, hair choices, makeup choices, all of that not historically accurate for the time at all, but it is more of a fantasy, so that's okay. I will say though that one thing that does annoy me in these shows and in movies is the stuff about corsets. Corsets were not torture devices, they were kind of just like bras, so all of these movies and shows treat corsets like the worst thing that ever happened and were very painful for women. Depending on the era, that was not the case, especially in the Regency era when you were wearing dresses that did not cinch in at the waist at all, so there would have been no point to wearing a corset that was shaped that way. And also, any corset that was ever worn generally had a shift underneath it, a shift being a small cotton dress, and that actually prevented it from rubbing against your skin, which of course would be uncomfortable, but wasn't actually what was happening. So outside of the costuming, The premise of the show is just kind of the same premise as in most Regency stories, marrying the daughters off, the romances, trying to figure out relationships and stuff like that. And this show had an interesting premise in that one of the women in the show, the main character in the show, just wants to be a mother. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I found that whole storyline, I really liked it, and I thought it was interesting. And I thought the idea that a woman is longing to start a family refreshing, because in today's day and age, you don't always get that narrative. And of course, I will say that this isn't a show that I would say is high level great. It's more like a guilty pleasure, but it's still fun to watch, and definitely something I would say would be fun for you to watch with maybe some girlfriends. I also wanted to mention another show that I recently watched on Netflix, which is The Home Edit, their organizing show. They come in and they organize homes, and they just make all of these pantries and bedrooms and closets look absolutely amazing. I love shows like this. I also really liked watching the Marie Kondo show. I really like these shows because they inspire me to clean my whole house and reorganize. And I've been feeling that very strong lately, where I just want to pull out everything in my drawers, throw things away, put them in beautiful rainbow order, I don't know, and just have things more organized. But I think it's fun to watch shows like that because they do inspire us to kind of clean up our own homes. So if you are in a funk when it comes to cleaning your house, try watching The Home Edit or Marie Kondo or something like that. It's kind of helpful. I also wanted to recommend a specific cookbook. It's called Dinner Done, and it was actually sent to me by a group of women who run a blog called Between Carpools, and they are a group of Orthodox Jewish women, and this isn't sponsored, but they sent me this cookbook and I have used it so many times now. I'm absolutely in love with it. It has such easy, great recipes that are healthy, ones that are less healthy, ones that are just delicious, and you usually have all of the ingredients at hand, which is so nice. It is kosher, but what that just means is that they don't mix meat and dairy. So it actually ends up working out really well for somebody who can't have dairy or for somebody who is vegetarian. So I think that's a really cool thing, and this is a great cookbook. It's on Amazon. I'll link it in the description box below, and you guys should definitely check it out if you're looking for a new cookbook. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is something that is slightly more serious. So I'm actually having surgery next week. It is not a huge surgery. It's a small procedure. I am getting a lump removed from my breast. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I think it is really important for us as women to be open about how important it is to get your breasts checked for cancer. My aunt actually passed away from breast cancer when she was in her early 40s. She was really young. So this is something I am a huge proponent of for women, is that you need to check yourself, you need to see a doctor, and you need to make sure that you are taking care of your breast health. Now, thank God this is not cancerous. It's just something that needs to be removed, but it is something I think is so incredibly important, and some women don't take care of themselves in the way that they should. So it's something that when you have an opportunity in the shower, check yourself, check and make sure that you don't have any problems in that region. I think a lot of women kind of take it for granted, and then when they go in for their yearly checkup, they just have the doctor do it. But it's important for you to be the one who's checking yourself regularly. And thank God I do check myself, because when I did, I felt this lump and I was able to go see my doctor and figure out a solution. So I did want to come on here and be an advocate for you guys to be in charge of your breast health. Now, this also could mean that my schedule for videos gets off a little bit in the next couple of weeks. I don't think it should. It's not supposed to be a crazy recovery, but just in case anything happens, if that does become an issue, then you guys will kind of know why. But I did want to just let you guys know about that. So that is it for today's episode of The Scoop. Make sure to leave in the comments if you've watched Bridgerton, what you guys have been doing to organize your house, your thoughts on everything that's been going on. I'd love to hear. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out when you do. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, because that will let you know every time I post a new video. Go ahead and follow me on all social media at Classically Abby. Everywhere. It's on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, everywhere that there's social media. I am there. And if you would like to support my channel, please feel free to head over to classicallyabby.locals.com to get ad-free versions of these videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!